So this is another video where we're going to talk about slope. Now, what if in an exam you're asked to draw a line with a slope of 1? So the change in y over the change in x needs to be the same. So there's a line with a slope of 1. Could you draw a line with a slope of 2? Change in y over the change in x needs to be 2 over 1. So all the way up to there would be a slope of 2. So I'm going to just write the slopes beside them. 1, 2. This will be a slope of 3. You can see it's getting steeper. Slope of 3, and so on. What about negative 1? Well, I'll just pick this point here, negative 1. That will be a slope of negative 1. Negative 2, down to here, and negative 3 will be down to here. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So these are all slopes of different lines. So why don't you pause this video and try and find the slope of this line here, and we call these points A and B. So pause the video, write in what the points are, create a right angle triangle, and see do you get the question correct. Okay, let's create our right angle triangle down here. A down to B. Is it a negative or positive slope coming from A down to B? We're looking at negative slope. What is the point A? It's negative 3, negative 3, positive 6. And point B is negative 1, positive 1. Change in y. From 6 all the way to 1, the change in y is 5. And the change in x, from negative 3 to negative 1, the change in x is 2. So the slope here is minus 2.5, or negative 5 over 2. What about length? We've been using Pythagoras to get this length all the time. In coordinate geometry, it's going to be the square root of, just introducing the formula here, x2 minus x1 to be squared, plus y2 minus y1 to be squared. So just take this formula down. This is the length of a line. You guys have been using Pythagoras up to now, where you label your sides a 2 and a 5. So x is equal to the square root of 2 squared plus 5 squared. X is equal to the square root of 29. If we label our points here, minus 1, 1 and minus 3, 6, minus 1, 1 and minus 3, 6. We have our x1, our y1, our x2, our y2, and the formula, the square root of x2 minus x1 to be squared plus y2 minus y1 to be squared. I'm going to get the square root of minus 3 minus minus 1 minus 3 plus 1 to be squared, which gives me the 2 that we had up above. And then the change in y, y2 is 6 minus 1 to be squared. We end up with negative 2 to be squared. Be careful with your calculator with the negatives to be squared. Plus 5 squared, which also gives root 29. So sketching slopes, introducing length. You should have mastered this by now before moving on to the next topic in coordinate geometry.